Welcome, everyone, to our second episode of Grimwit with Dimwits.
Welcome, everybody.
I'm Blondie, and T just piped in without any prompting.
It's my show, too.
All right, I'll give it to her. We were talking about how we couldn't believe that it was our second episode. As long as it took us to record our trailer on our first episode, we had said that definitely we are not experts in any way, shape, or form.
No, we are not.
Zero expertise here. However, everything that we do come across is interesting. Albeit sad, it is interesting. And it is our hope, I guess, in sharing stories that it'll bring things more to light so that people can be aware of situations around them, people around them.
That's right.
Yeah, so
the wolves in sheep's clothing.
Right.
People are not always what they seem.
Exactly. They're not always what they seem. It will make people more skeptical, yes. Less trusting, yes. But it may help somebody, might save someone's life or help someone out that needs help or help shine the light on somebody that your friend doesn't see.
Right.
So it's that balance that you have to achieve in trusting and yet being aware.
Yes, of course. Of course. As two best friends who have to trust each other in so many ways.
So many scary
We won't even
ways.
get into that. This episode is going to also involve two best friends, or so they thought. Should we just get right into it?
Sure.
All right, let's do this.
Let's give it a whirl.
This case involves two families, mainly two men, the two best friends I was just speaking of. And they end up at opposite ends of the spectrum. One who unfortunately becomes an unsuspecting victim, and the other who intentionally becomes a brutal killer and an international fugitive.
Oh.
Right? And I wanted to focus on this case. You haven't even heard this case yet. So
No, I haven't.
Your responses will be very, very organic. But I wanted to focus on it because I actually looked it up, and from the way I researched it, and I hope I did it right, I don't think this case is on anybody else's podcast. So let's let the grim begin.
Okay.
The case is about a 48-year-old, and I hope I say this name right. I'm probably going to butcher it, but not intentionally. 48-year-old Piseth Chhay. And he's in the prime of his life. I know that's a tough one, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's a loving husband, a father of two boys that he's very proud of, and an all-around great guy, according to his family and friends. It's always the great guys, isn't it?
Oh, right.
As of 2017, he had been married to his wife, Ratana Kim, for 20 years. He was also a dedicated full-time Uber driver who liked his job and took great pride in his vehicle, which happened to be a Mercedes SUV.
We do like our Mercedes.
We definitely do. After seeing photos of this couple, they are strikingly beautiful. I'm talking about Piseth Chhay and his wife, and they appear to be perfect and happy, which only makes this story even more tragic. The Chhays were dear friends with Bob Tang's family and had been for many years. The Tangs also have two boys of their own, and Bob Tang is a successful businessman and seemingly living his best life. Chhay's wife Ratana and Tang's wife were also best friends, and the Chhay's two boys even referred to Tang as Uncle Bob. So it appears that these two families spent a significant amount of time together as couples and with their children, building strong bonds. Chhay's wife Kim even stated that her husband really respected Tang.
Wow.
I know.
You just know something's coming.
It sounds so perfect, and I think it probably was perfect during that time, but it does.
Did you find out where this was?
This is up north. This is in
Okay.
Hayward, California.
Okay.
And I say up north because we probably haven't told our listeners yet, but we are also Cali girls. But
Right.
we're SoCal. Let's get the feud started.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. But I'm guessing that after Chhay's wife Kim said that her husband really respected Tang, I'm guessing that that was because Tang was a successful businessman, friendly, and also a family man. The two men had lots in common. They were even the same age, 48. These two families sound very legit as far as their values and loyalty to one another. All seems very sweet. So now let's get into what went terribly wrong.
It all seems almost too good to be true.
I know, right? It's like everybody's so perfect. By the way, you're not perfect and I'm not perfect, so we're safe.
Wow.
Just trying to make you feel better.
Wow. Oh, yeah, that really boosted my ego right to the
But
ceiling.
you're safe.
Alrighty.
Okay. Piseth Chhay was last seen on Sunday, May 14th, 2017. So this story is a few years old. Mm-hmm. That happened to be Mother's Day that year. His wife says that since he was not on duty that day with Uber, he headed over to see his good buddy, Bob Tang, that afternoon. But that was the last she ever heard or saw of him. They were very worried and confused. The only clue the family had as to what might have happened to him was that he told a relative that one of his Uber passengers had left their phone in his car the day before and that he wanted to return it to them. I mean, who does that? Talk about a nice guy.
Right.
When he last left his home, he said he was going to meet a friend. Then he disappeared along with his prized SUV. His cell phone was also turned off following his disappearance and remains missing, as well as his car keys to this day.
So everything's gone. He's gone.
He's gone. His phone's gone. His car's gone. His car keys are gone. Everything's gone. About a week after Chhay's disappearance, his friend, Bob Tang, who sometimes goes by Bob Tov, also went missing.
Oh.
However, in this case, it may be by his own volition, as police were seeking to question him in connection with the Mother's Day disappearance of Piseth Chhay. In a release shortly after the two men went missing, the San Francisco Police Department's public information officer, Grace Gapendon, said Mr. Tang is believed to be the last person who saw Mr. Chhay.
So when he goes missing, along with his friend, of course, immediately you think he's guilty. He did something.
Or is he missing? At this point, they don't know.
Yeah.
But what happened was, of course, with his friend missing and him going to see Tang, they wanted to question Tang and try to find out what they could regarding Chhay's whereabouts. But after Tang vanished, police grew suspicious. Tang was scheduled to be interviewed by San Francisco Police Department investigators on Tuesday, May 23rd. Don't forget, his friend's been missing since May 14th, right?
Okay.
So, however, he left his home on Monday, May 22nd, telling his family that he needed to respond to a phone call that he had received from a security company notifying him of an alarm that was going off at a warehouse property that he owned not too far away in Antioch. That's also up north. Mm-hmm. He never returned from that errand, and then his family ended up reporting him missing on May 24th, 2017. I don't know. Sounds a little too convenient.
Little suspicious.
A little suspicious. Do you believe his family didn't know that he was about to vanish? I think his family knew.
Do you really?
Yeah. They waited a whole day. I'm just saying. They gave him a 24-hour lead and then reported him missing, I think, when they knew he was safely gone.
Oh.
Who's really going to leave their family and not say anything? Your wife, your kids, and just disappear? I mean...
Well, couldn't he have done it for plausible deniability for his family?
Well, I'm sure that's the way they wanted it to appear. But in reality, I'm just saying.
You're not saying, you're just saying.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So following an investigation, the police later learned that Tang apparently became enraged. Now here's the real story. Tang became enraged on Mother's Day, which was about 10 days prior to his disappearance, when his wife announced that she wanted to file for divorce.
Ooh.
I know, right?
So much for the perfect family.
Right? But apparently Tang already had his suspicions, and he knew that rather than this request for divorce stemming from irreconcilable differences like most folk.
Do you know that on a divorce paper there's only 2 boxes you can check?
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it's irreconcilable differences and...
You want to say that again? She meant irreconcilable differences.
And I want to say... I don't want to be inappropriate, so I'm not going to say it. But at least years ago, there was only 2 boxes you can check.
Now we all have to know what that second box is.
Look it up.
I'm all about it. So back to this. He knew that it wasn't about that. He felt like it was more likely a far deeper betrayal. Maybe that's your second box.
Oh,
Police say that when Tang came to the conclusion that his wife had or was still having an affair with his best friend, the Uber driver, Piseth Chhay, he made a deadly and calculated plan to get revenge and allegedly killed Chhay in a shocking way over the suspected then and still only suspected now love triangle.
Love triangle?
There you go. Everything's not so perfect.
Everything's not what it seems.
Now, with this deadly possibility of police suspecting that the missing Uber driver may have been killed by his longtime best friend, this case has been unfolding piece by piece. That's a little pun clue.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
In the media and has spurred some other loud rumors about possible motives for the killing. After a few weeks passed, on June 28th, Chhay's family tried to squelch the affair rumors. Chhay's cousin, I'm probably going to butcher
My
this.
goodness.
Sova Narath She has been a sort of spokesperson for the family, telling KRON Channel 4, "This is hell. I don't wish this upon anyone."
Wow.
She vehemently denied that Chhay could have been conducting an affair, saying, "I know that my cousin is a very faithful guy. I don't believe that he had an affair whatsoever with her," meaning Tang's wife.
Right.
She further tells ABC Channel 7, "People are starting to rumor about the relationship of Bob's wife with my cousin, and that it might have been romantic, which that's not true. That's not been confirmed by the police. Bob's wife is pretty much besties with my cousin's wife." First of all, how's that going to be confirmed by the police? If you're good at it.
Very true.
I mean, I don't know. That whole statement just sounded a little bit off to me.
Wow. Trying to dissuade the whole thing.
I guess because those are her thoughts. That's the truth, set in stone. So it sounded to me like she was basing her thoughts on the assumed loyalty of the various friendships within the two families. But vengeful people are capable of some very ugly things.
Mm-hmm.
Another rumor surfaced about potential gambling debts, and she, the cousin, also denies those to KTVU, saying of the rumor, "It hurts not only my cousin, but me as well, and the whole family," and adding, "The gambling part is not true. Police have confirmed that it's not true, and owing money is also not true."
The police are, wow.
They got their hands full with this one.
Yes.
So I'm intrigued with how much this cousin knows about the family. I know all my cousins pretty well, but I don't think I could ever vehemently deny anything about them that had to do with, any potential affairs or their finances. We're just not into each other's business like that.
Yeah, and I wonder how close they actually were.
Yeah, I would like to think a certain way, but if you have half a brain, people are capable of a lot of things. And these aren't horrible things. They're just immoral things.
And she's basing it on what she says on the outside.
Right, exactly. I'm sure he was a nice guy, but nice people do bad things sometimes. So being a character witness is one thing, but it seems like a lot of hardcore confirmation coming from someone who was not actually in the marriage, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
All right, cool. We're on the same page. So let's go back to Saturday, May 20th, which is still less than a week after the disappearance.
So this is, the 20th was 6 days after
Piseth Chhay
right,
disappeared.
I didn't want to say that. It sounds silly.
So you made me say it wrong.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. So that was 6 days after he disappeared and 3 days before Bob Tang disappeared.
Correct.
Okay.
Ooh, you're following me. Look at you.
I know.
So on May 20th, San Francisco Police Department investigators were called to a warehouse, which is about the size of a retail store. Pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
In the city of Hayward, after workers there complained about a putrid stench coming from some garbage bags.
Oh.
Old pizza? I think not. Police examined the bags and a disturbing, grim discovery was made. there were decomposing, chopped up human remains inside the garbage bags. Renowned cold case investigator Paul Holes noted that the crime scene cleanup at the warehouse was, quote, poorly done. He also stated, "This is showing an unsophisticated offender that was likely in a rush." The medical examiner's office took custody of the remains, and because of their condition, investigators stated that they would need to use DNA testing to positively identify the deceased, right?
That's being in a rush, that's still a lot. Poor guy.
The remains weren't really that old at that time.
Again, that's 6 days.
Yeah, that just tells you what he really went to town on that body. Therefore, Chay's mother and aunt arrived in town and provided DNA samples to aid in the investigation. Police immediately suspect that the remains may belong to the missing family man, Piseth Chhay. Obviously, it was more than a coincidence that the warehouse was connected to Chay's longtime friend, Bob Tang, who managed that warehouse for many years and is now also nowhere to be found.
I was going to ask you, how did the warehouse come into play?
Bob Tang managed it.
So was it empty?
They had workers there. The workers are the ones that discovered the bags.
True.
So I bet you it was a functional warehouse.
Wow.
And actually, I was going to comment on that too and say, you know, on top of being a ruthless killer, this guy must have truly hated all his employees to leave that kind of trauma behind for them. And even in the middle of the act of insanity, he could have thought this through a little bit better, a little more consideration for the people he worked with.
Right.
It's crazy.
If they needed DNA testing, so they wouldn't have obviously known who it was. But I can imagine if they did know who it was.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't imagine going to work and finding chopped up body parts in garbage bags that have been there for a few days. Yeah. So anyway, at about the same time that the remains were discovered, Chay's Mercedes SUV was also found. This only put more focus on Tang because his business warehouse was only 20 blocks from where the vehicle was found. I wish people could see the eye roll you just gave me. It spoke 1,000 words.
I mean, wow. He could have... I'm not going to comment. Continue.
Without the verification from the DNA yet, because at this time they just discovered the two things, Chay's wife and their 2 sons pleaded tearfully for their father's safe return home.
Aww.
I know this part's really sad. So they're still very much holding out hope. But the discovery of her husband's car made her believe that, and this is what she says, "It points to foul play for me," she said. "It means my husband didn't leave on his own. My husband would never abandon his car in that area." And, by the way, the Mercedes SUV was found completely stripped, including its tires, and it was on a desolate road in Bayview.
So that makes me think that whoever did this, we're making assumptions now, whoever did this took the SUV to an area where that would happen.
Or maybe even arranged for it to happen. Who knows?
True.
Maybe even did it himself, but who has that kind of time?
But she was saying in that area, which does make assumptions.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get rid of something, you know,
Put it in an area.
You put it in an area where something's more likely to happen to it.
Right.
And probably destroy a lot of evidence at the same time. So the wife went on to say, "Our 2 boys are waiting for him to come home." And the grieving wife continued to pray each day for a miracle, hoping that her husband would return. She gave a tearful interview to ABC Channel 7, saying of Tang, "We believe that he's in Cambodia," and adding, "I just hope that body part does not belong to my husband. But if it is, Bob Tang had something to do with it."
Wow.
I know. Holding out hope that it could have been a completely different type of crime, a friend of the Chhay family, Brendan Tang, voiced his own speculation to ABC Channel 7, saying, "I don't know if he was set up in any way because he's driving a Mercedes." That was another hope, maybe that someone else had done it for the car and maybe he was still alive, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
It just sounds to me like
If
they're still torn on whether or not Tang could have had something to do with it.
It's like that thing we said last time. If you don't say it or you don't see it, it's not true.
Right.
No news
is good news.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine how badly they must have wanted to believe anything else other than what it actually appeared to be. Crazy emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
Chay's cousin, the family spokesperson, had told KTVU, "Nobody in our family wants to believe that it's him in the warehouse, and we want to believe he's been kidnapped, kept somewhere, and we'll be able to find him soon, alive." She also says that she saw Bob Tang after her cousin's disappearance and said, quote, "He was just pretty strange, kind of jittery, and was looking at his phone constantly. He was just lost for words. It was unusual for me."
Okay, so she's saying they hope that he's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 6 days later. No phone call. If you're going to kidnap somebody, you're going to kidnap them for something.
I can't even imagine how you start to hold on to even horrible other thoughts just because you don't want to think that he's dead. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like that's your hope from that point on.
That's
really sad.
yeah.
As far as the cousin saying that Bob Tang was acting jittery, I think she meant like he was acting just really sketchy. But I'd like to know where she saw Tang following the disappearance and for what reason.
Right.
Was Tang at an event advocating for the family while they're pleading for Chay's safe return? Because that would be super dirty. It's just a lot to think about. I didn't see this on TV when this case was happening, so I don't know what happened, but I'm curious about that.
Interesting.
Following the discovery of the dismembered remains, along with a blood-stained chop saw, this case was discussed by an expert panel on Fox Nation. I like this part. Nancy Grace begins by asking the panel, what would drive a man to murder a friend so brutally? And Dr. Alan Blotke, a clinical psychologist, responds by saying, a crime of passion. This man just found out from his wife that she was having an affair with this other man, and he exploded, obviously violently. A terrible situation, a terrible crime of passion, which led him to saw the body, dismember the body, and flee to Cambodia, all in a matter of days. Nancy Grace responds by saying, I'm trying to reconcile what you just said, that it was a crime of passion, but well planned. Under the law, I don't even know if that's possible.
That's a huge speculation.
Well, not only that, I think she calls him out for this crime of passion nonsense, because it was like he passionately committed the crime, but yes, this man definitely contacted Chhay to come and meet him so that he could kill him. So he did plan it. There's no two ways around that.
Was there
in my
any,
opinion.
besides the police confirmation, well, yes, I did air quotes, was there any actual proof that there was an affair?
No, I didn't hear any proof that there was an affair. But this is the reason that he killed this guy.
This is his justification.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And as far as what Dr. Blotke said, it sounded to me that for whatever reason, he was trying to soften the blow, which ends up sounding like justification as to why men do what they do. A boys will be boys excuse. So good for you, Nancy Grace, keeping them boys on their toes. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I thought it was great the way she went after him.
Good.
Yeah. Then she went on to ask Joe Scott Morgan, death investigator and forensic professor at Jacksonville State University, if he had ever seen the show Dexter. Right? She described the show saying that Dexter was a crime scene analyst specializing in blood spatter, and he became a serial killer, killing the bad guys that slipped through the cracks of the justice system. It was always so neat and perfect when Dexter would murder and dismember somebody, but it is not like that in real life, she says. Morgan, which also happens to be Dexter's last name on the show, but we're talking about the death investigator right now, took it upon himself to clarify on behalf of his fellow panelists that he feels you actually can commit a crime of passion. He just jumped back to this, I guess, to try to put Nancy in her place. Mm-hmm. And it can also be planned because most of the individuals who have dismembered bodies have just grabbed the closest instrument that they can. But in this case, Tang acquired power tools and went about this kind of purposefully. And then he even packaged the remains afterwards.
Okay.
Wait for it.
Okay.
Nancy Grace interrupts with a sarcastic tone and states, kind of purposefully.
I'm sure with sarcasm.
And yes, I said it just like her. He went and got power tools. That shows purposefully intent to commit murder. End quote.
And bags.
Right.
And dealing with the car.
Investigator Morgan replies with, yes, you're right. And then he just like changes the subject and he says, and he's comfortable with gore. He spent a lot of time with this body. Let that sink in. Oh, he's on the other side. This is still him talking. It does only take one person to do this, but that means it would take time and patience. There was probably a copious amount of physical evidence there. Everything from bone dust to soft tissue to blood sprayed everywhere.
That's a visual.
End of quote. Investigator Morgan also drew a parallel between the personalities of Tang and Dexter, noting that on the outside they both seem normal and are always smiling and friendly, but ultimately concluding that if you betray him, meaning Tang, and he gets you in a corner, he'll take you apart just like he did with his buddy.
Okay. The whole Dexter parallel, that's crazy. Unfortunately, with video games and TV shows and movies, yes, they may get this idea, but the fact that you're comparing the two, putting them parallel, one's a serial killer, a made-up serial killer. Mm-hmm. The other one is just one person with basically crime of passion situation that kind of purposely did something.
Right, I know. The whole conversation got a little weird.
That was just a whole lot of mess.
And if you see the interview, it's funny. Anyway, so
and it shouldn't be. It's about this poor man.
It's about this poor guy, but it kind of turns into a pissing contest. So America's Most Wanted Overtime follows the franchise's main episodes and then takes a deeper dive into the cases they feature. They also compared the dismembering techniques to the show Dexter. The fictional protagonist kills on a regular basis using power tools to discard his victims' remains. So I get where they were coming from. And I like how Investigator Morgan starts to defend his fellow panelists, but when he gets called out by Nancy Grace, he just deflects.
Of course.
Okay, so after further investigation, Tang was apparently in a rush to flee the country. His car, a 2004 silver Toyota Sienna SUV, I could see why he was a little jealous of Chhay, was found 3 weeks after the murder, abandoned at San Francisco's International Airport, with his cell phone left inside. He was gone.
Yes.
His family has not seen or heard from him since May 24th. Investigators confirmed that he had booked a one-way ticket to Cambodia, where he has dual citizenship.
So they haven't seen him since the 24th or the 23rd?
They said that on May 24th, they confirmed that he booked a one-way ticket to Cambodia.
Okay.
So that's when he left.
Okay.
Tang is described as an Asian male, approximately 5'4", weighing 130 pounds, with brown eyes and black hair.
He is not that large of a man. I wonder how big Chhay was.
I don't know. I guess you can be any size when it comes to a chop saw.
Oh my gosh.
Right? I mean, that's not going to help you much.
No.
I am curious about the details of how that all happened. November 2nd, 2017, a felony arrest warrant was issued for Tang in the county of Alameda, California, after he was charged with murder. They did charge him.
Okay.
On March 26, 2019, a federal arrest warrant was issued in the U.S. District Court, Northern California, San Francisco, after Tang was charged with unlawful flight to avoid prosecution.
So they apparently had enough on Tang to issue the warrant and the charges.
Yep, that's what it sounds like. The San Francisco Police Department tells ABC Channel 7 that they have reached out to the FBI for assistance since Tang fled the country. The U.S. does not, now check this out, the U.S. does not have an extradition treaty with Cambodia. So it's not clear yet whether Tang could be forced to return to the U.S. to face any possible charges. So someone could kill here and escape without ever having to face justice. Even with a murder charge, the U.S. cannot force Cambodia to return him. That really stinks.
Yes.
Tang was spotlighted on America's Most Wanted, but he's still at large. The show is reaching out and has hopes that the public can provide information to help track him down. The FBI is offering a $10,000 reward for information leading directly to the arrest. He is considered armed and dangerous.
Okay. Did they ever confirm that was Chhay? Were they able
Through DNA testing, yes, they did.
Did they ever figure out how he was killed? He was dismembered, but was he...
That's the part I was just saying. I wish I had those details, but they didn't mention it. It's not anywhere that I could find.
Because a 5'4" man...
Yeah.
I mean, even the same size, you're going to have the fighting...
And he was prepared. He invited him over on Mother's Day to spend time with him that afternoon, and that was the same day his wife wanted the divorce. So this was all pre-planned, if
Did
you
his
ask me.
wife tell him? Did they say anything? Could you find anything about his wife telling him?
All I
that
found was that
affair?
she had denied the affair. That's all I found, is she denied the affair. So how he actually...
Came to that conclusion.
Yeah, came to that conclusion, and so quickly, I don't know. I don't know. But he certainly moved forward with his revenge. And that's why I was saying at the beginning of the story, it's suspicion then and suspicion now. It's not been confirmed that they were actually having an affair.
Well,
So,
no, the police confirmed it, remember? The cousin said.
no, the police did not confirm
They did
that
not
they were
confirm.
having an affair.
My apologies.
But
yes.
they did confirm that he didn't have any gambling debts. We can definitely pick and choose here.
Okay.
So that's as of 2017. I don't know if the $10,000 reward is still out there. I looked, but I don't know if those type of things come and go. I don't know if someone found them today, if there's still a reward. But it's a very, very sad story about two families that had it all going on, and then overnight, Mother's Day, everything changes.
It's definitely a case of things are not what they appear.
Yep,
And it's not as perfect as you may see.
I know. And even though you think you can trust someone, you know, your Uncle Bob to their kids, I'm sure he was Uncle Piseth to Tang's kids. It's that level of comfort. I mean, that takes a while to build that up. And then all of a sudden, in an afternoon, he's ready to kill this guy. So people are just...
You never know their level of patience or their level of what's brewing underneath.
Yeah.
Their level of anger and how quick they are to anger. And if he had the time to get this saw, he planned to meet him. He got the trash bags. He dealt with his car.
He took the time to chop him up.
He took all of this time to do this. It makes you wonder if that was maybe the catalyst. The so-called affair was the catalyst. The divorce pushed him over. It's like, you've got this perfect life with this perfect family. Mine's not perfect.
Exactly.
So I'm going to take it out on you.
Exactly. It could have been jealousy. It could have been just he was having a really bad day. And maybe this had played in the back of his mind. Some bizarre reason. Maybe he saw something with his wife and Piseth Chhay together that he didn't like. And it's been brewing back there. Maybe a little bit of over familiarity or something.
Right.
And then as soon as his wife wanted a divorce, he needed a reason to blame somebody. He just decided that's what he was going to do.
That's just so sad.
It's
you
very
just
sad.
Feel bad for Piseth's family. They're not getting justice.
Nope.
Because he's gone. And again, for the police to file charges of murder and fleeing,
Yeah.
they have enough evidence on him.
Now 2 families have no fathers in the family because of this one man's actions.
Yeah.
And even if the guy was having an affair with his wife, I'm sorry.
No.
You don't kill somebody for that.
You don't take someone's life for that.
The punishment didn't fit the crime.
No.
Right, for sure. It takes 2 to tango, if it was true. And just from what I'm reading, which isn't anywhere near reality, it just didn't appear that that was a thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. From what I read, it just didn't seem like that was ever confirmed in any way. So he may have just killed this guy for no reason. This wonderful, nice, loving family man.
Right.
Just taken out, possibly for no reason. So.
It's so sad. And you just don't know people's level of depravity.
That's right.
You know what they're going to do.
That's right. I've seen you on a bad day. I've ran and hid a few times.
I've killed a few bugs. Besides the fact I have a jail phobia, which you know.
And you know I have a jail dream. One night.
One night. Yes.
One
so
night.
this explains your level of depravity.
I just want one night. That's it.
Yeah, okay. You're on your own on that one.
I could probably make it happen.
We like adventures, but you are definitely on your own for that one.
Well, it's one of those things that I've heard so much about it, but like, I want to experience it for myself.
Of all things to experience, jail.
What can I say?
Okay. Well, we would also like to say that if any of the information that we've provided, some of the details may be not quite right, we would love to hear from you.
If there's another angle, another theory, I mean, we are all about get on in on this conversation.
Right.
And let us know. We will be happy to make corrections.
We will update and take care of it. This is us talking about stories, but again, we would love to hear anything that you have to contribute. Would be incredible.
Right. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this very sad story. Again, like Blondie said, if we get any updates since this guy is still missing, we will definitely post down the road, or not post, but mention it down the road, maybe both, and let you all know what happened.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening. We just want to thank you all for sharing your time with us. And if you'd like to send in your creepy little grim bits, we would love to hear your personal stories, interests, and suggestions. Please email them to grimwitwithdimwits@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at grimwitwithdimwits and Facebook Grimwit with Dimwits to listen for our new episodes, and feel free to share with your grim-loving friends. We would really appreciate if you would take a minute to rate and review. 5-star ratings go a long way and would really help us out. Until then, we would love it if you'd come back next week to delve with us into the strange and unusual things we just can't wrap our skulls around.